You could.
All right, pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Welcome to everybody. We have a new board. We're going to make a, I don't know what you want to do.
Well, we start with
You wanna do the
payroll,
regular
Payroll?
stuff?
Okay.
treasurer stuff, that way she can
All right.
begin.
We have an ACH payment of $198,681.50. And that's the Swayze. And then we have Richard Sawyer. This is just a check for $1,740.14. You guys want to see that again? Yes, no, do they want to look at it or not? Being new to see what we got or not? We'll do it that way.
So normally we'll go over payroll first. First one is written checks, second one would be ACH, direct deposits, 2 employees. One person reads the check, one person checks the manifest, and the third person checks the time card.
There was two live check registers, so one was for Sawyer and that one is the rest of them.
All right. So this is pretty minimal.
It looks like 6, 10. Might as well read them, then they can
Yeah,
go.
that way they.
It'll be good practice.
Yeah.
You can give one of them a check register, the one in your left hand. 'Cause that's the easier one to figure out.
Tell me when you're ready and I'll read.
Alright, so Janet, if you, here, give that to Janet, you and I can do it. Alright.
Carol Bellevue, $125. Richard Chamberlain, $400. Carolyn Coughlin is $125. Douglas Cowie is $400. James Saltzman is $198.27. Charles Williamson is $400.
Yep. Can you do the last one?
That's Charles Williamson is $400.
So why are the 2 that are not highlighted?
Those are in the direct deposit register.
Okay, great.
These will check out.
So if that lines up, just take that. Give it to.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, it has
I
wheels.
think that's gonna happen.
It's got wheels.
Alright, so,
This is where your chapstick comes in handy on your fingers.
you like just flip through it and I'll go through it with you, but
Ready?
just go slow.
Kaden Blazek Ahern, $830.77. Jeffrey Collins is $906.25. Wayne Robinson is $956.78. Jason Gagnon is $152.38. Andrew Gray is $516.51. Kip Kaiser, $783.77. Andrea Bickham is $631.28. Karen Clement is $1,101.
Stop for a minute. Did they sign? Can you just sign Karen's time card? Somebody.
Anywhere on the left-hand side.
Down here?
Yep, that's fine, either way.
Okay, Karen Clement.
Is $1,101.98. Heather Haggett is $436.60. Tamara Peak is $696.93. Daphne Wass is $714.51. Kendra Brackett is $235.08. Robert Gagnon is $338.40. Matthew Kelly is $1,161.93. Kevin Nealand is $1,110.09. Robert McCon is $160.51. Kiera Norris is $354.30. Christopher Spitaleri is $1,594.61. Josh Turner is $373.64. John Ventura is $1,499.91. Jeremy Worcester is $643.58. Jared Wright Ward is $877.06. Joseph Bird is $93363. John Bryant is $659.88. Evan Crafts is $219.41. Keith Culligan is $593.84. Alyssa Sanuski is $640.68. Alexander Hall is $457.53. Katrina Tennant is $708.65. Trevor Whitby is $703.19. Kaylee Dvorak is $400 even. Michelle Sudit is $125. Joyce Kegel is $560.29. Katie Coppola is $84.97. Shayla Gherkin.
84.
Yep. Go ahead.
Shayla Gherkin is $52.64. Mary Lyons Hall is $221.64. Janice Weirs is $782.99. Kiki Doniswall is $687.46.
And then Jen, you would just read the total.
Total 23,908.67.
PD had 30 hours of overtime, fire department had 0, highway had 21. I'll do the rec stuff now.
So, you guys wanna switch?
So this would be accounts payable, whatever we're paying for bills this week.
Ready? Andrea Bickham's $30.70. Joseph Bird is $51.98. Block 5 Technologies is $292.64. Boundtree Medical is $583.77. Kendra Brackett is $8.75. Casella Waste Management System, or Casella Waste Systems, Inc. is $26,912.46. Center for Occupational Health is $57. Citizens Bank is $1,035.75. C&M Cleaning is $1,770.01. Keith Culligan is $79. E&J Auto Parts is $144.71. First Light is $170.72. Great American Financial Services $317.09. Hartman Oil and Propane is $3,808.54. Joyce Kegel is $19.52. Mitchell Municipal Group is $2,233.25. Morton Salt is $4,446.84. Pike Industries is $958.72. RG Toombs Door is $687.50. Rockingham County Registry is $2.58. Seacoast Security is $168. Starkey Welding is $207. Suburban Propane is $1,102.41. TD
Hold on a
Card.
second, Bob, I have
Sure.
that. Okay, yep, it's just the total, the 1,102.41. I was just looking at the highlighted
Yep,
one, which was 87.
1102.41.
Gotcha, thank you.
TD Card Services is $1,303.95. Title Communication is $407.32. UniFirst Corporation is $61. Valak is $186.45. WB Mason is $23.90. Daphne Was is $22.09. Yankee Equipment Services, Inc. is $476.82.
Yep,
So now you total amount, $47,570.37.
We do have rec checks also. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 rec checks.
So this is the register, all the numbers that we just read off should match everything on here. This is a recreation revolving account. It shows what the total was at the beginning, what we wrote checks for, and then the ending balance of the
And then once we get all those back, we give them back to Joyce, and then she'll do a recap of the treasurer's report. I'm close, I can feel it.
thanks, Bob.
to verify Yeah, I mean, each of us, you're signing the amounts
Can you
here
just ask Andy to check his sheet, because there's only 4 lines on it.
are all correct.
I think that got
In corresponding with the checks here.
cut off
So
on the
what I was
bottom
looking at
photocopy.
was were the amounts and who
Check it out, I
it's
guess, yeah.
going to.
So I can just,
Yeah.
Trust John.
And then Joyce will go over this, which is the treasurer's report.
Weekly Treasurers Report, 3/15 of 2022. Previous balance, $4,755,540.16. The deposits were $28,279.47. The payroll is $27,297.08. The payroll tax was $6,290.64. I transferred to impact fees $3,618. The AP total was $246,253.47 for the payment of AP checks of $47,570.47. New Hampshire retirement, $25,622.14, and the Swayze payment of $198,683. Our current balance is $500,360.44. The interest earned year to date is $1,238.71.
Thank you, Joyce. Appreciate it.
thanks, Joyce.
Welcome.
Karen's now gonna read off the building permits for the week. Kip's reviewed them all, said they're good. So she'll read them all, pass them around, you can look at what's being done, and then sign the permit.
Okay.
Curtis and Audrey Kimball, 23 Northrop Drive. It's an electrical permit for a kitchen remodel. Johnson Family Revocable Trust, 30 Robinson Street, is a plumbing permit for a new master bathroom and an electrical permit for the wiring for the bathroom remodel. William Bouchane, 31 Mohawk Lane, is plumbing permit for a bathroom remodel. Andrew Cunicella, 3 Homestead Lane, is a new roof. John LaRiviere of 3 Ponds Drive is 46 Three Ponds Road, 27 Three Ponds Road, and 29 Three Ponds Road. Those are all building permits for new dwellings. Richard Chamberlain Revocable Trust, 15 Crawley Falls Road, is a minor project permit for an addition to his garage. Shane Daniels Roberts, 31 Stevens Drive, is a minor project for a kitchen addition. Wright Builders LLC, 23 Route 107, is a building for a new dwelling. Jim Johnson, 212 North Road, is a building permit for a home remodel. KG Realty Holding LLC, 109 Crawley Falls Road, is an electrical permit for new dwelling. Gilbert Family Revocable Trust, 339 Middle Road, electrical permit for a 200 amp transfer switch. And Mark Young, 47 Fellows Road, is a building permit to replace his shingle roof.
Kip's gonna be busy.
He is.
And if there's ever any concerns about any of the permits, Kip would deal with them before they make it to the board, or they'd be discussed here.
Yeah, typically if there's any code issues and stuff, he's already addressed that.
They're already addressed,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then usually if there's like a debris removal, something specific with debris removal, he'll let me know as the health officer, and then I can take a look at it to make sure they're complying with like anything that might come up for asbestos and stuff like that. While you guys are doing that, I'm gonna take the opportunity to read off that we're having a rabies clinic on Saturday, April 23rd, between 9 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. And it's rabies vaccines are $15, microchips are $25, and it's going to be at the Brentwood Fire Station. If you have any questions, please reach out to Daphne at the town clerk's office. If I could zoom this in, I could.
Registering dogs.
registering dogs to you at the same time. And you can pre-register paperwork also.
Do we do that every year?
Yes. Maybe you this year.
Yeah, that was started a while back, wasn't it? It's pretty good service.
Daphne and I have a running joke.
Sheriff go to your house?
What's that?
Did the sheriff go to your house?
Only one time.
With the dogs?
You can just talk to them around.
Shortly after I moved.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Usually the good thing is being on this board is she'll deliver your tax bills and your dog stuff to you. So you know, like, get up and go register your dog before you leave or
There's
take a
no
break.
excuse.
There's no excuse.
And the $25 includes lifetime registration.
For the
Microchip.
microchip, yeah. Fortunately, all mine are microchips, so. Although I don't know if anybody wants them.
Gonna go on to the notes.
Did we want to go?
You wanna- Yeah.
Minutes?
Make a motion for the minutes from last time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You guys are gonna
You guys
abstain?
Abstain.
We didn't have non-public, right?
No, we did not.
So.
All right, for,
Nominated the chairman.
yep, I'd like to nominate Andy for chairman.
Second.
Discussion?
I'll accept it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 There we go. Who wants to be the vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Jen Jones for vice chair.
Discussion?
My only thought is nothing personal, Jim, but usually that's not a junior
Yeah.
first term position, but
It's your call.
That's just my
Usually, I usually let the chair usually nominate who they want to be as vice chair, so it's your call.
well, it's not my call, it's the vote of the board,
Yep,
so
that's fine.
if there's a second, then we'll.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
You want to rotate seats or no?
No, we'll stay where we are for now.
Okay, and then who do you want to do for
So
commissions?
I would like to do budget committee,
Okay.
if nobody has an objection to that.
Nope.
I'd like to do conservation.
Anybody have an objection to that?
Nope.
School board?
I'd like to do school.
Anybody have objection to that?
Nope.
Planning?
I'll take planning if that's all right with everyone.
Any objection to that?
Nope.
Library?
Eeny, meeny,
There's love.
Russ for library, anybody have an objection to that?
all in favor? Aye.
I am also gonna resign my seat on the ZBA, so I would like a representative to the ZBA.
If we could, I'd like to nominate Russ for that if that's something he's gonna be willing
That's
to.
the
Zoning Board of Adjustments.
Zoning.
Yeah, zoning board of
Zoning.
adjustments. It's a real easy, like, I think we've met, well, last year we met a lot, this year I think so far we've met once. So the only time you meet is once a month if there's an application submitted,
Okay.
and they're usually on Monday nights.
Okay.
That's to adjust zoning or?
It's not a Thursday.
So if somebody submits a building permit to KIP and he denies it because they don't meet zoning regulations for setbacks
Gotcha.
or whatever it may be, frontage setbacks, there's all
Yep.
kinds of, the zoning book's probably about this
So
big.
to basically review disputes or whatever,
Yes.
yeah. Okay.
And then, so, any objection to Russ on that?
Nope.
All right. Seabrook graded drill is on April 6th. Mr. Murphy, who is our Director of Emergency Management, has asked that if Ken could sit in as the Board of Selectmen designee, because he normally attends these, and where it's graded, that's where the federal government comes in and decides whether we passed or failed the Seabrook Station to maintain their license.
He said he'd do it, okay?
I think it'd be a good idea next cycle that we'll get maybe a mock one before we start, and
If schedules allow, and I'm not volunteering, I'm literally just asking, if schedules allow, should we have someone shadow Ken as a,
I don't think it'd hurt to be an observer. What do you think, Joe?
I'm usually quiet.
Yeah, as long as you don't say anything, it
Yeah,
wouldn't hurt to
especially since this
observe.
one's graded, right?
This one's graded.
Are they yearly?
It's not a, generally speaking, the problem we got right now is we've changed up like everything else. We don't have the normal people that run through, so we've got a bunch of grade happy feds running through these things, so the better, the more the group is
Knowledge.
together, the better.
Yeah.
have either of you done this before?
I have done it,
I haven't done them.
but I haven't done a drill since I started my new job, so 3 years. When I was on midnights, it didn't
They
matter. I
generally
could-
run them every two, there's a year in between, so this will be the graded one for this, then there'll be a year lapse in between, and then there's,
What are the hours like?
they usually start, you're not supposed to be there, but they usually start about 8 o'clock in the morning, and they're out of there by noon time. We usually have lunch orders by 11, so we
So-
can make sure we get lunch.
So the idea is if there was an emergency with Seabrook Station, the notification would initially go to Karen, and Karen would notify us, and then
Yeah, it goes to
the procedure is to respond to the EOC, depending on what level of event it is, anywhere from a unusual event all the way to site area or general. So-
In terms of town notification and,
Yeah, there's a book that's
Right.
probably, there's like 4 volumes that are about this thick on
sure,
how this works.
And that's why we have Rich.
An unusual event at Seabrook Station could be a nor'easter.
Right.
Just something's different,
right.
so
They dropped a can of paint in the wrong spot, it comes in the usual event.
like 5 years ago,
Yeah,
they had,
seriously, it's about that.
they had a wild turkey fly into the fence, which triggered the security alarm, which
Okay,
brought down an unusual event, as well as a
Gotcha.
SWAT response, because they thought,
someone was breaking in.
yes,
Rick has actually changed that. He's the only one that gets notified on those because of.
The unusual events?
Because of that.
That it's a turkey?
Generally speaking, after that, it goes to the on-duty officer, and the on-duty officer notifies one individual, and then after that, it's handled by Rick.
so yeah, if 1 or 2 people like to shadow, as long as you don't say anything, it's,
Yeah, I unfortunately I know that I cannot. I would like to be there, but.
Depending what
Usually,
day
like
it
I said,
is.
It starts about 8:30 or so, and they're out of there by 1:15 or later. They usually go to the general emergency, and about 20 minutes after that, they're all done. Be thankful you're not down in Hampton or someplace like that. It becomes a hell of a lot more involved.
Closer you are to the,
Closer you out of the plant.
we just
And
have to get to the
prevailing-
fire
And
station.
the prevailing winds towards Seabrook, so that usually, or towards the Mass border, so it's less of a hassle for us.
And we just have to get across the street to the fire station, right?
and technically, there's only a little slice of Brentwood that's in the emergent 10-mile up zone.
Oh, the whole
But
town,
way back when, they just designated the whole town to make it easier,
gotcha.
but it's just a, like,
It's a small portion of.
small corner,
Right.
so.
Do you need a motion for Ken?
Sure.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to appoint Ken as a designee to the drill. Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Documents.
This is a junkyard license for Bob Webb to continue operating the junkyard. So when this was recorded way back, it was a permit that runs with the land, and they've requested that it be passed on to his daughter now that he's passed away. There's no lapse, the permit expires at the end of the month, so they want to renew it for another 2 years.
Do you have a motion?
So, everybody know where Bob Webb's property is?
I
It's
actually
like,
don't.
it's 60 Main Street, Middle Road?
32.
32. It's almost across from the storage place.
Oh, yeah.
At the Exeter
Yeah,
line
yeah,
on
okay.
Middle Road.
You need a motion?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
had a grant through emergency management to work on the town's hazard mitigation plan. That is an extension agreement with the state to extend our grant agreement for 1 more year.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second, can we just talk about a little bit about what it means?
So that was the hazard mitigation plan that each of the department heads has been attending those meetings. We've hired mapping and planning solutions to help us make those plan updates. And so with COVID and the timing of all of those in-person meetings, they were allowing for a 1-year extension for us to finish wrapping up our plan.
I think I seconded.
Yes.
Okay.
But you asked for discussion.
But I still asked the
so-
question.
You can second and then ask for discussion. Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Yes, on there.
Do we need to sign on the other page? I saw there was another.
No, the other page is just for the state permission. That was
Okay.
just a form granted by the state.
So there's 4 spots, you and Jen can find out who wants to sign their life away.
Since he got stuck with ZBA. He got the ZBA, you get to sign that.
Recreation appointment slips?
The Rec Commission is requesting to recommend appointing Patrick Farrell to the Recreation Commission as a full member for a period of 3 years, and for Erin Merrill and Valerie Rogers to be reappointed as alternates for a period of 3 years.
Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
And that is the annual fraud questionnaire prepared by myself for the financial audit. So it just states that you're not aware of any fraud that's in town, nothing's been reported to you, and that you become aware of updates through New Hampshire Municipal
all you need,
Association.
your
So just the chairperson signs that form.
Motion.
Second, which form is that?
So
That we've
this-
already all signed?
This is the appointment slips?
Oh, yeah. This
This
is.
is the fraud questionnaire. So every year, the Board of Selectmen is asked if we're aware of any fraud that has taken place in town, or were approached by anybody saying there was fraud in town. This is a document that the auditors asked for. So right now, we're just, you guys, if you want, abstain, because really,
I
unless
mean, I
somebody
saw
said
the audit
something.
in the town report that
Right.
vouched for the town.
Yep.
And what year are we? The 2021 audit will begin on March 21st.
Motion.
Motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody gonna abstain?
Yes.
We can abstain if we're on the board. I think that's just a second one.
These are just adjusting entries that I did to reconcile the general fund with the ACH cash account. So I just need Andy to initial these. Those are just the transfers from the ACH credit card accounts to the general fund.
You guys wanna look at these before I sign?
And then adding in them monthly interest. There's 5 of them, so they just each need to be.
So what, just walk us through, well, I won't speak for them, but walk
So there's
me through.
There's 2 separate cash accounts. One ends in 102 and
Okay.
one ends in 103. One is the general fund and the other one is only deposits made from credit card or ACH transactions. So all of those credit card and ACH transactions get deposited into the 103, and then as they post, we transfer those weekly into the general fund.
When do we see those numbers actually come through?
So we record them into the general, we record the deposits weekly as we go, And then those transfers were made just now to show when we were balancing with, so MRI was doing the reconciliations between those two cash accounts.
What's
And
MRI?
that was the company that we hired to do the bank reconciliations.
Municipal Resources Incorporated.
So anybody who pays a fee to the town by credit card goes into that
Goes
account.
into that separate
Gotcha.
account, and then we transfer it.
I'll make a
You guys
motion
can
for
take a
Andy to
look,
sign
And
those.
then Andy has to sign it.
Okay.
Motion.
Bob motion,
Second.
second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. What do you want me to sign?
Just initial at the top.
So while I'm doing this, fun fact, the town meeting was broken up into 4 video segments. And we got from anywhere from 54 to 67 hits on people watching, or times it was watched.
On each one?
Yeah, it varied from 54 to 67, depending on what segment.
That was nice of you to break it up like that.
Yeah, well, the first one I had stopped when we did the vote, and then the rest of them, the camera broke up, so I couldn't figure out where it was, so. Sunday, I had a few moments and started watching and
Fast
figuring out
forward.
where, what was where. Chief Burt, come on down. You can have the seat next to Karen.
Thank you. I haven't formally been.
Hi.
Chief.
Jen Jones, nice to meet you.
Have you met Russ?
Yeah, we met at the town meeting.
Yeah, I met the other night at the town meeting. I'm not, no, I'm not.
We were there late, not that late.
I do remember it. Honest, I do. So, for the 3 members that are here that are aware, we've been pricing out an ambulance. Generally speaking, we've got 2 at the moment. One's a 2005 and the other one's a 2014, I believe.
And we had a moment last year where we didn't have any because they were both in the shop.
Right, so.
Did we buy those new?
Yes, we buy them new every time, hence the reason I'm in here. The idea is to get them on an 8-year cycle. So the 2005 would go in 2023, which I'm working on trying to get rid of now. And that would make it what am I trying to say here? They rotate. The oldest one, yeah, so they go every 8 years out. I've got 2 bids. I have been chasing my butt, trying to get a 3rd one. The problem with it is everybody's got the same problem, nobody's got any chassis. They are coming forward right now, the 2 that I've got. Sits at, one is for a Sugarloaf dealership, and they are pricing out what they call a PL Custom. And that one came in at $323,624. And then I have a Lifeline. That one came in at $341,012. Both of them are excellent companies. The Lifeline one is one we've got now. Excuse me. Lifeline ambulance we have at the moment is the one we have. He's supplied the last 2 or 3 that we've bought. PL Custom is a company that is fairly well established in the area. Epping's got one, Kingston's got 2. Greenland just bought a brand new one. Their service seems to be a little better. I have never had a problem with the Lifeline one other than the recent things, and was Ford's problem, not theirs. The only difference between the 2 is Sugarloaf, or the PL Custom one, would have a service vehicle available to you, which means they would come out and take care of something.
I'd have to take anything that happened short of the first year probably back down to Mass. What I'm looking to do, because of the price differences, I've got to add a $6,000 radio to both of those figures I gave you. So that takes the other one up to 347, almost 348, and the other one up to 331 or something, yeah. What I'm looking to do is actually request your permission to encumber the 350. In that case, I've got a padding in case something comes up with the chassis issues. If I cut it down to the one at the bottom and we do have a chassis problem where they can't come up for the price of the chassis at the time, then I'd like to have something at least be able to float.
What do we have in the ambulance account?
It was 4,
469 at the end of January.
and I've got to make sure my budget comes out of that, which we made sure we had room for. I think it leaves about 37 in there.
Are you opposed to Sugarloaf where it's 20?
I am not opposed to Sugarloaf. I'm kind of leaning in the direction of Sugarloaf. I really want to sit down and talk to him tomorrow, if it goes the way I want it to go, and try to draft up a contract as soon as possible. The only reason, like I said, I wanted the extra padding was just in case we have missed something. I don't think we have. We were fairly thorough. The reason Lifelines actually came in cheaper, but he had missed the cot. And what we use as a power load, we would like to go to as a power load car to save everybody's back. It's 28 grand just for the loading part of it, and another 23 for the stretcher itself. So
So what's the maximum number you're looking at?
I'd like to do 350, if that's possible.
I'll make a motion for the 350.
To Sugarloaf?
Yeah, Sugarloaf would be 329.
9, but,
29.6.
yeah.
Did give you the wiggle.
I think we should, I would do give him up to 350.
Give
but
me
pick
up to
the company.
350. I'm leaning in the Sugarloaf direction, and I am telling you up front, I'm leaning in the Sugarloaf direction.
I like the fact they said Sugarloaf does the
Service.
Yeah.
service vehicle.
Loaner.
Yeah, so
They will do a loaner ambulance too. I'm not sure Lifeline does, so if you got a problem, they will drop an ambulance off to you.
Chief Bird, what do we do when we retire, like when we retire the 2005
That was the other question
vehicle?
I had for you guys. Do you
Yeah.
want me to look into a trade-in for it, or do you guys want to sell it outright? The price I got from Sugarloaf would drop the price by $3,500 if you trade it to them.
So we can either trade it or sell it outright. If we sell it outright, the money goes into the general fund. It wouldn't be used to offset
Right.
the cost of the ambulance. It would just go
What
into
would
the
we
general
get
fund.
for it if?
I have no idea what they're getting for them right now, I really don't.
how many miles are on the thing?
About 60,000 on a diesel, I think, broken in. And
Okay.
seeing it as the money I just put into it,
Yeah,
it's
the only thing
about
that makes me
rebuilt.
concerned is when we trade in like the police vehicles and stuff, we have to have all the stuff removed.
Right. Well, same thing. We would.
Yeah.
No, he'll take it the way it is. He'll strip it.
No, but I mean, if we sell it
If we
outright.
sell
Oh,
it
you
outright,
sell it
we have to-
outright,
we have
yeah.
to strip
I would
out.
I'd pull the Brentwood Fire Department and I'd pull the seals off it. I wouldn't get carried away about the striping type of thing.
Right,
I would just
radio.
pull, the radios.
And what about the lights and stuff? You have to pull those out too, right?
The last one we sold it with the lights in it.
What have
don't
we
pull the
historically done, sold or traded in?
Well, we do it every 8 years, so we haven't done.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what we did with the last
I
one
don't remember what we
myself.
did with the last one.
I don't either.
I think we sold it.
I know when we bought engine 2, we sold the truck itself.
Yeah, didn't the fire department down south buy it, or?
No, that one ended up, I think, out of the country. Somebody in Kingston bought it and shipped it.
What do you think? Do you think it's worth trying to sell it outright?
That's up to you, I really don't know. The way the car market is right now, who knows?
I always just get worried about like the lights and everything else that are on it, and I'm the insurance guy, so I think of liability, so.
They're probably
Yahoo
gonna,
getting this thing and being like, woo!
Joyride.
I'll be honest with you, they'll take it and probably ship it out of the country too.
I'm sure.
It won't stay here.
I mean, we've done it before with the police vehicles where we do a closed bid and have offers come, but then we've also had before where we've done that, people give us closed bids and then they don't wanna buy it after they bid on it, and you're like, now I got this paperweight.
Just remove the hassle.
Yeah, so I think,
Well, trade-in
trade it
also
for the-
keeps some of the, keeps your fund for your fire station.
Right, it
up,
gets to
Yeah.
offset the ambulance and not
Right.
go into the general fund.
Right, which makes some sense.
I'd lean more towards the trade-in right now at this
I
point.
think I would too.
Okay, let me
Especially
just,
knowing the
let me
nature of the
just
vehicle.
double check and make sure that's the price that he quoted on them. I can look that one up real quick. Yeah, 3,500 is what he gave me off on that one.
It's an 8-year-old vehicle, so I'd
And
make
they
the
are,
motion for going with Sugarloaf, going up to 350 for the ambulance, and then having them take the trade.
do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, chief.
Yep, have a good evening.
Do you have a, not to put you on the spot, but do you have a status on the hiring process? Did you post?
I have not posted, I shipped her a copy of what I wanna send out, and that'll go out tomorrow, but I'm on a list of, you name it, and everybody's looking.
Yeah, how many openings do you have right now in Rockingham?
Last I heard, there was 62 departments hiring. I've got, I can tell you right now, there's 3 or 4 in Exeter. There's 4 in Hampton, 4 in Nottingham. My 2, that's what I know of, just in the general area right at the moment.
Yeah, I think last time when you did the number, it was like 100
I
and some odd.
don't know how many openings there are, like I said, just in the area right now, I can tell you that there's that many, so.
Well, after election and town meeting is the time all the new spots get posted.
Exactly. Tried to get a little creative, but stole a couple of ideas from Exeter's today to make it a little more appealing.
Sounds good.
But, yeah, it's gonna be tough. It'll be tough. I'll end up probably with a couple of basic EMTs. Most of the other departments are looking for the advanced and paramedics. So it'll probably be at the basic level EMT and brand new, green as grass. So we get to train them, hopefully hang on to them for a while.
You guys you talking about doing, since you're doing the training, doing kinda like what we do to the police department, they sign a 3-year commitment?
I haven't really sat down and thought about that yet. To be honest with you, I haven't discussed that yet, so.
Okay.
I'm trying to work out something with one of my guys right now that's in that, he just signed up for his advanced EMT. I was gonna split it with him and then, pay him the other half if he passed it and hang on to him for a year if I can. It was kind of the deal I was cutting with him at the moment. So, I have not got his bill out of him yet. I've actually got 2 people, to be perfectly honest with you, that have put themselves through school. And I haven't paid a dime. I've offered to pay for part of it, and I don't expect them to hang around too long after they get it. For that reason, because they paid for it themselves. So, even though I've offered to split it with them or do whatever, so.
Yeah, are training slots an issue, actually getting in and getting trained?
The biggest part of it is the commitment of finding somebody that's got the time to do this. The job is getting very difficult to do. Most people do not want to work with their hands anymore. And to find the right young kids, and these 2 that I've got going through the class, one of them's actually employed by the town of Exeter right now. He's on my call department, and he paid for himself to go through firefighter 1 and 2 when he gets out this spring. He'll be both of those. He'll probably chase an EMT license after that, because you gotta have at least a basic. They got a CPAT coming out. I posted probably early to get up and get on the list. We'll see. I gave a date of the April 8th, I believe it is, to have my applications back in. They're running a CPAT, which is a physical agility test, the end of the month. They'll run another one in May, and they're trying to run 2 in June, and maybe 1 in September. Out of those, last year, there was probably 100 and something that went through it, 80 of them made it, and there were over 100 job postings at that time. They were literally standing there handing applications. You passed, here you go, come see me, type of thing. So I am planning to go up in April and maybe doing the same thing, depending on how this goes. But, yeah, it's a very competitive market right now. They just had They put a recruit school through up in Concord. They had 19 people graduate the recruit school, and there were 62 departments standing there passing out applications. So, it's tough everywhere.
The county ground's still closed?
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get that back because of the PFAs, unfortunately. That's a shame, it really is, and
So the nice thing is, either call or you guys could attend fire training at the county facility on North Road. But because a PFAS was found in the groundwater, they shut it down.
I'd love to see them open it back up just to even let us use the building. I mean, it's a facility that Seabrook put some serious money in right before that happened. They had redone all the burn panels, pans and everything else in it, and redone the building only because Seabrook was saving money, because now they gotta send everybody out to do what they were doing, so. And it was convenient.
Station or town?
Seabrook Station was, literally put the money into that addition that's on the side of it, so. But, I don't know, good legislation thing somewhere. Somebody gets the right ear to somebody. And it's
Well, that would be a
not-
county
It's not a
commission.
certain individual next door.
That'd be a county commissioner that would have to fix that.
Yeah, and you know who's sitting on that, so. The person that created the problem.
John's like, wow, I just got here.
Actually, we're thinking of the same person, he's not on the commission anymore.
Did he get voted
Kingston
on?
representative?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's not on.
thank God for small favors.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night.
That's all I have for public session.
Alright,
Chief Inter has non-public business.
well, since Robin's here, we might as well talk about the newsletter. The newsletter did send us an invoice for the 8 issues, as well as 2 other issues that they wanted to be billed ahead. Do you wanna come up and talk, Robin, or?
I can talk from here.
Okay.
It's 11,007, and,
So, my opinion on this is town meeting voted to expend the money. So I think we're bound by town meeting to expend at least the 8 issues. That's what the legislative body said, and I think that's what we're bound to.
I would agree with that.
I think Ken was very clear at the time that contract negotiations had been offered. The board unanimously said that we were going to have a contract in place. That was the request of the town of Brentwood. That's why we made that decision. And I, for one, just cannot support entering into a financial transaction without a contract with a vendor. So what the town did was, per RSA, authorize the payment. And it is incumbent upon the Board of Selectmen per RSA to actually appropriate the funds. And so
Which RSA is that?
I cannot vote to appropriate funds without a contract for a vendor.
I would disagree that they authorized the appropriation. They told us, what, my opinion on town meeting is what they say at town meeting is what you have to do. Like, no means no. If they said no, we couldn't expend for a year those funds. I think we're obligated to, because there was no caveat in there that to expend the 8 funds with a contract or without a contract. And I think the whole contract thing is getting way out of what everybody's looking for. We're not looking for, at least me, when I said contract, I'm not looking for oversight of editorial contract. I'm looking to say, I'm gonna get 8 issues, each issue's gonna be published on this month, deadline needs to be this day, and it's gonna contain 12 pages, 14 pages, whatever, just this is what you're getting for your money, not, you need to not do this, you need to do this, you need to do that. The only thing I would say that I'm disappointed in was that I've heard from different departments that their stuff that they have submitted didn't get printed. But it sounded like one member of the board said they would work more closely with the town departments the last time they were here to talk.
Yeah, Julie Avant.
Yes.
So,
And then the other thing that came out of the town meeting too was,
I'm sorry if my hands are going.
no, that's fine. You can focus on your inner Italian, that works for me. And then the other thing that they made is that they wanted to go back into the general budget, basically,
Yes.
instead of being a warrant, so.
But right now, I think we need to focus on the
Do the
invoice that was
invoice.
provided and where we're gonna go from there.
Yeah, look, I think, that's my position, and I don't think that that's gonna be changing.
Jen, Russ, you wanna weigh in?
I'm just curious to know, the previous select board made a decision to move forward with the contract. That process, I understand, was started, has not yet finished. To me, what happened at town meeting, I don't see how it would derail that process that was ongoing, that Ken was very clear about, that it was actively ongoing. So to me, that process needs to conclude before I feel comfortable releasing the money that the town authorized at the meeting.
And
It
the
was
other-
very clear that that was the process in place and that ideally it would have been completed by town meeting, but had not concluded as of that day.
And the other element that I forgot, and I'm sorry for almost interrupting you, it was the monthly invoicing that Ken said. I mean, it had been made very clear on multiple occasions during these meetings that monthly invoicing was gonna be continual.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the one-time invoicing, but I mean, many suppliers you deal with, you pay a discounted rate for, you know, our video service, you know, Vimeo, we pay a year ahead just to get a rate. I mean, speaking of that, we have to talk about that later.
How was that decision made by the prior board to go to monthly invoicing?
I think that was
That
just
was-
for the.
It was in the result of the meeting we had
In May.
in May, and out of that meeting, we decided to go monthly, and then all the times before it was yearly, right, Robin?
And the other thing too is no prior board can bind a future board.
Sure, sure.
I think the meeting was pretty specific. I know the contract was part of the discussion. But I think it was voted by the legislative body, which is the governing body at that meeting, that they wanted the newsletter. They wanted to vote for that money, and nobody made any changes or requirements that we do anything. So that was kind of, I got the feeling from the meeting that it was, we want this back. It's been here for 45 years. We haven't had any of these agreements before. This is what we want. I agree with Andy at this point, that I think that was the marching orders basically that we got on Saturday, was this is what we want, and it was voted not unanimously, but majority.
So Robin, would it be an issue to give us an invoice that kind of said what I was talking about, like,
Actually, invoicing is difficult because I can't always plan page count. It depends on what comes in.
but I mean, you've done this for 5 years, you kind of know what the average page count is and could
14
say,
is the average.
okay,
And that's
so,
how I budgeted it.
so 12 pages. That's what, you know, I'm just looking, you know, if there was ever a dispute again that like a one-page thing didn't get published and the town got billed for.
You didn't pay for that.
No, I know, I'm just saying that, that's my thought, is that we at least get a 12-page.
You're not gonna find someone more frugal than I am, okay? And you're not gonna be able to get a discount off of free. So, you know, I don't know what to tell you. My costs have risen
No,
exponentially.
just,
So the number that you were given this month is higher, or this year was higher, for multiple reasons, but specifically because printing and postage have gone up as the number of people who want it have gone up.
wasn't haggling the price, just
No,
asking if,
I'm just giving you the basic
Nope.
information, and the reason why I would prefer it as a lump sum is it makes it easier for me to juggle throughout the year, than to try to go, okay, if this gets cut because I only have this space.
but would you have an objection to saying in the invoice, you're getting 8 issues, a minimum of 12 pages, deadline date is this date, and we're gonna publish on this date?
So we can talk about that. Absolutely.
So,
It's been pretty standard for 5 years what you receive.
do you have a problem with Robin and I sitting down at some point and talking about this? Or,
Like a memo of
And then-
understanding, is that what you're talking about?
Look, this is not gonna get my support, and I'll tell you why.
okay,
We've been raked over the coals as a board, publicly, on the website, in town meeting, in this room on multiple occasions, and yes, John Morgan gets raked over the coals all the time. I'm used to that. That's not what I'm talking about. All of us are in business in various degrees. If I had a vendor communicate with me the way that this board and this town has been communicated with, I would, that's it.
unfortunately, we have to look beyond that, because town
Which is
meeting told
why-
us to,
Which is why I'm willing to enter into good faith contract negotiations, but my support will be for a good faith contract. But it's not going to be for something less than that. And this board put forward a contract in a good faith effort, and we got a response the day before town meeting. And it was months that it was there. Well, that might be an exaggeration, at least 6 weeks.
Can I ask what it is you feel?
The board is
over the
speaking right
coals? I'm asking, I'm part of this discussion, yes? So my question is, how do you feel as a board that you were raked over the coals? Specifically you, John.
Robin,
The website statement hasn't changed, so it's still there for anyone to take a look at. How do you feel that rakes you over the coals?
this is not a relationship that I think that is moving forward in good faith.
And you haven't made it very easy. You haven't reached out to us at any point for any communication. You've left everything quiet, so I don't understand your complaint about being raked over the coals when you haven't reached out to communicate.
Okay.
That's
So-
all
I'm not gonna do this with them.
Robin, we actually did reach out. We had a meeting.
I came to the meetings.
We had a very good dialogue and conversation, and actually asked for you guys to send us an outline of how we could do this. And never received a response. I feel raked over the coals.
Yeah.
Can I just finish? And then I'll let you talk. I feel raked over the coals because of a miscommunication of, I thought you cashed the check and then posted on a website derogatory statements about the Board of Selectmen.
Which derogatory statement?
It was, I wish I was a town employee and getting raises, and it was a backdoor bashing of the board. That's how I felt. And it is what it is. It's a public forum. You can say whatever you want. That's the right of freedom of speech, and hey, but that's my personal opinion. That's what you asked for, and so, but knowing that the check is lost in the mail, never reached you, I'm much happier that something didn't happen like that.
Okay, you realize though that this check that supposedly went out, I didn't know that it was going to be mailed because the request was to call me or email me so that I
Right.
could come and pick it up.
And that was a mistake on my part, I didn't call you, but we did cut the check and it did get approved on a Tuesday and it did go out in the mail that next Wednesday by the treasurer.
We actually read it here, and
Yeah,
then
I watched the meeting, but I didn't receive a check. So I'm sitting here waiting and waiting and waiting. So I'm assuming no check is, I didn't know a check was going to be mailed. I didn't get a phone call. But you didn't reach out to us either.
Right, I didn't call you, I didn't call to say that the check was here, that completely missed, that is my mistake, right? we normally just mail the checks, they get approved here, I give them to the treasurer, and then she mails them. She stamps it, she signs them, she stamps them, she puts them in the mail.
Okay, this is different because this is not a standard situation. We've never done this. You know, I've never had to submit a monthly invoice. I've never had to, I come down here once a year, actually Marion or now it'll be Tracy will come down and pick up the check.
But we're trying to move past that.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to heal,
I am too.
the town's very divided, as you could see during election.
Yeah.
Like, every vote in town was split almost 50-50. This at town meeting was 60-40. So we need to heal and move on, and that's why I'm just asking if Robin said she would talk about it, if you guys want to do this as a board together, or if you just appoint somebody to sit down one-on-one with her and see if we can move forward. Because we need to bond the town
We do.
back together.
It's the number one thing that we talk about. you
And
know.
And I would also restate that, one of the things that happened at the town meeting is, like you said, 60-40, they're telling us they want us to move forward with it, so.
Just so that we're clear, we are not a vendor, we are not a subscription, we are a volunteer group of residents in this town. We are people who love this town and do this work for the town. So we're not, your regular vendor that submitted a monthly invoice. We're people who are looking to you as people that we've elected to help us support our efforts in our town. It's not a vendor, we're not XYZ corporation coming in and providing you a service. We're doing something for the good of our town from our free time. So we're just looking for you to support us with our own money in what we do.
Can we have a discussion on the board about that in terms of other towns do their newsletter as a town function? So this setup is essentially an outsourcing of what can be a town function to a private nonprofit corporation. So what is the
Organization, not
relationship?
corporation. but-
Organization.
It's
It's
incorporated.
it's a
Oh,
corporation.
okay. Sorry.
Or whatever you want.
It's for 501c3, and it's the same as the.
I don't believe you are a 501c3.
We are
There's no
501c3.
990s published for
Yes, we just
you.
received the notification, so we are now officially a 501c3. We will register with.
Just now?
Just now, came on Saturday.
So for the past 2 years, you haven't been?
No.
Okay,
As a matter
that's what I
of fact,
thought.
For 43 years prior to that, we weren't even an incorporation.
I understand that.
But the problem is you cannot open a bank account in the state of New Hampshire without some kind of corporate papers. So in order for us to move the bank account from TD, which has been Bank Boston, which has been many other banks, we had to have some sort of corporate papers.
And then I'm not sure when it was, but town auditors asked us to have the newsletter become
A business.
its own private entity. Do you remember how long ago that was?
That was,
2020.
yeah, that was in 2020 when that
Yep.
other issue
So,
happened.
Michelle, I'll let you speak in a second, but let the board
So,
discuss
so
this
my
further.
thought, if this is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, I think the board needs to clarify, is the money a donation or are we buying a service from this company? Because from what it looks like from my point of view is we are buying a newsletter from this entity in place of doing it ourselves. If we did it under the town, it would be volunteer-led, it would be free, we would be paying postage. So essentially, we're using the town money.
So under the invoice, we're paying paper and postage.
We're paying for a service.
We're paying, and they're still doing volunteer and
We're
still
paying-
paper and postage that we would have to pay.
Please.
We're not paying.
Please let the board discuss.
So I think that's what we need to clarify, because it feels like we are paying for a newsletter to be produced. And in that sense, there should be some sort of contractual understanding, because as everyone has mentioned, this has created stress in the town. For you guys, I'm sure, tremendous stress. For other people, stress. And you mentioned, some votes have been 50-50-ish, some have been 60-40-ish. A lot of people in town want to make sure that some of the things that have happened over the past couple of years don't happen again. And so I'm not sure if we sign a check today that there's any assurance some of those difficulties won't happen again without it in writing. And so my understanding was the previous board was working to get something in writing, whatever you call it, a memorandum of understanding, a contract, that clarifies what the town, what the product looks like that we are paying to distribute. Because you can argue, okay, we're not buying the newsletter from them, but we are paying to distribute it. And so I think we kind of need to clarify as the board, what is our financial relationship with this outside company? Because if you're paying for delivery of a product that represents your town, you should have some more in-depth relationship there contractually.
So, can you check with New Hampshire municipals and get a ruling on the warrant article in the wording? And what we're bound,
So town meeting will give you the authorization, like you've appropriated
It's
the money, it's the
authorizing
authorizing for you to
appropriate.
spend the money. That doesn't
And
mean
then
you
the
have to
select board
spend the money.
decides how to spend the money.
Right, like if this was for a cruiser and they authorized you to purchase a cruiser for up to 30 grand
You don't
and
have
then
to.
chief goes out and says they're 45, you can't buy that cruiser, you don't have enough money. So the warrant article would lapse and the money would go back to the general fund and you would try again next year.
So
It's the
that's
same
what I was
premise.
talking about.
And by the
That's
same token, if
the
the chief
authorized
says we don't need a cruiser,
distinction.
Then you would
That
just table
money-
it, same thing.
Can I get the
It's still up
RSA
to
for
the
that?
board for them to, it's municipal budget law, it's RSA 32.
32? Which one though, there's 142 under 32.
I don't know the specific
Can you send it to me?
designation, but I can look it up.
Thanks.
and I think when that vote was made at town meeting, it was in the setting of Ken Christensen pretty explicitly saying that the board was working towards a contract and people voted knowing that. And when people voted the way they did, 60-40, it was to not hold up the money. It was to say, yes, this money can be authorized. But I think, to me, Ken was pretty clear that there was a background process that was happening there.
Liz, I'll get to you in a second.
What was the number on the vote, do you know?
105.61.
105 to 61?
Yep.
So it's not 64.
So just to clarify that point too, there was
Hold
discussion
on.
to add.
Did you have anything to add?
I just have, I mean, I don't know how many questions I need to run through now, and I certainly don't want to rehash, things that have already been said a million times, but I appreciate everything you do, I really do. I'm new, so I just want to make sure that's clear that, from the day we moved to Brentwood, I've enjoyed the newsletter and valued it, and all the other work that you and others have put into, telling the history of the town. I'm a fan of history, and so I guess when if I had to sum it up, I guess I would appreciate if you did have the opportunity to sit down. The two of you or whoever, I would love to be able to sit down as well in that conversation if that's possible. Because in my heart of hearts, I just believe that the passion exhibited by Robin is real. The passion exhibited by people who had concerns is real, but I think at the end of the day, I believe what you're saying. You want to provide this service for the town, so I just feel like there has to be a way to come up with a solution if we just sit down. And I understand your frustration that you weren't able to sit down before the invitation was there and it wasn't taken. No one took you up on it, and yeah. So I guess that's at the end of the day. If you're, if that can happen, I think that's the best thing to go forward, because we started out the conversation with a disagreement over, what the vote says versus what, then the previous board can't bind this board, and so it's a lot to process right now. All I know is at the end of the day, I voted to support going forward with a newsletter. I would like to go forward with the newsletter, and I would also like to see if there's a way to address the concerns of, people on this board, the previous board, the people who have met previous on the issue, and of course, as well as from your perspective. So that's where I'm at.
Michelle, let me,
Just a comment, so this happened in 2019. The gentleman sitting behind me brought a warrant article to the town meeting, and it failed. But we sat down as a group and we discussed what these people had to say and what we hadn't already incorporated into our operating process. Some of it we didn't incorporate, but for the most part, we did incorporate what people want. We receive emails regularly. Hey, I want to see this, I don't want to see that.
So not to cut you off, Robin, but would you object to sitting down with myself and Russ?
I'll discuss it with you.
This is, Michelle?
I didn't mean that in any kind of bad way. What was the problem? What did I say wrong?
Michelle? I promised Michelle I would let her talk
No, I'm
next, so.
just asking about the meeting. What did it,
Nah, Russ was offering an olive branch to you, so I was hoping you would
absolutely. I'm sorry if I didn't say it correctly.
enjoy.
I think the question was whether
Entertain
you
both
left me
of
out
us.
for, on purpose.
No,
That was the.
not at all. I'm just thinking ahead. I'm not trying to figure out what day.
Yeah.
What day's gonna work, who's gonna be where, at what time. I'm sorry, multitasking here. So.
Michelle?
So, I've had like
Can you just-
87 thoughts since my first one that I wanted to talk about, but we have done, I believe, the vast majority of things that were in that warrant article a couple of years ago that failed. We went ahead and did them. I think that we have tried, although we've continued to get raked over the coals, a lot more than this board has, to be honest,
I'll
to
agree with that.
extend that olive branch and do what has been asked. It just seems like it's never enough. I mean, if you really want to heal things, do you think we want this division to continue? No. Because you really, none of you have any idea what we have gone through physically and mentally as a result of the last 2 years. You have no idea. And I don't want that to happen anymore. We have done our best to do the best we can by this town. And I think we would be certainly willing to talk about a memorandum of understanding. But if I may say, the contract that was presented, well, I don't think I will say that. Incidentally, if I may ask a question about the contract, it was asked on Saturday, somebody asked about the language of it, and I believe the response from Ken was that it was in negotiations, so we wouldn't discuss that. Am I correct?
I believe that's what he said.
He said that at town meeting.
Okay, then I would have a question as to how Kathleen Bailey got a copy of it. Was it you, John?
I haven't even seen a copy of it.
No, I have not. I did not send anything.
Did you give Kathleen Bailey a copy of the contract?
I did not give you that Kathy Bailey contract.
I did not
I
give
sent it to
Kathy.
Catherine because we discussed it at a public meeting, and so she made a right-to-know request for the contract.
So it wasn't available to the public, but it went to the media.
Nobody in the
She
public
FOIA'd it.
asked.
She
for-
said there was a
Just like she
right-to-know
FOIA'd.
request.
So a contract negotiation is open to FOIA?
Did Karen give it to her, is that what you
Karen
just
did.
said?
Yes.
She did, that's what she just said.
Through a FOIA
A right to know
request.
request.
Contracts in negotiation
So
are
that's-
open to FOIA?
That's a personnel matter between us and our employees, so,
Okay.
but it wasn't any member of the board that
Wow.
sent it out. Liz,
So,
just for, do you got Liz's information?
Southborough.
Okay.
was great. So, my understanding is that the one or two selectmen that disagreed with the legislative body on Saturday are not allowed to change what, what they want to see or what they don't want to see. The contract wasn't part of, that went down, that the contract had to be part of the newsletter funding. It was not overwhelming, but it was decisive that the newsletter should be funded, the 8 issues for this year. So I don't believe you can change the legislative you know, I totally agree with you, Andy, what you said at the beginning. The people have spoken, the legislative body are the people. And the people have spoken, whether one or two select board people agree with it or not. So the people have spoken, I don't think this needs to go on and on and on and on and on.
Maybe that's what we need some
And the
clarity
contract wasn't
on.
part of it.
Maybe that's what
That
we need.
contract wasn't.
Okay, thank you, Liz.
Yep.
Karen can give you can review the authorized.
I'll get you in a second, Jim.
Appropriate, language again, but what we're saying is, there's a common misconception, right? So, the legislative body has convened, when the town convenes, that legislative body authorizes, the budget authorizes the
Expenditures.
expenditures. The responsibility per state law of the select board, like one of our main functions is to actually appropriate, so actually cut the checks per, based on the needs of the town. And that's the distinction that came up a year ago, is coming up right now, is that we're talking about authorization and appropriation. And so-
Well, and I was reading about this before joining the board on, like the New Hampshire, there's like a website about like being on a select board. And it talks about that the legislative body can make rulings that are not only are not binding, but sometimes can be illegal. And they're allowed to vote. So like, for example, that there was an example that was kind of a silly one, but it was like, the legislative body can vote that there's a no parking zone in front of town hall. But like the current, parking regulations don't agree with that. And so then it becomes a recommendation to the select board, because the town legislative body cannot actually dictate what action the select board takes. So that's what I really need to understand, because if Liz is correct, and anything said by the town on a warrant is 100% financially binding of the select board's hands, then the answer is clear. That was not my understanding of what it meant to appropriate funds through a warrant article.
I'll put you in line, Lois.
I think that's why we had Walter Mitchell was there as our counsel, so that way we don't step into a hornet's nest. He's there to make sure we're following the laws,
But he didn't weigh in
But this
on
is
whether
outside
this
of
was
that.
binding on the select
but
board.
he would have been part of that whole review process for our warrant articles and stuff when we drew those out.
So everybody in line I'm gonna let talk, but I think the best action for this board is for everybody to sit down and decipher what they've heard, what they want. Let Robin and I talk, if she wants to.
I think we all want the same thing. I think everyone wants a resolution to this. I want you guys to keep doing the newsletter. Like, I have nothing, I would say envious, but it's not envious of your dedication, because I kind of can't believe it. I don't think I could give that much time to do it. But I really want what's happened to not happen again. And I think we need to have some sort of different understanding moving forward. I really think we all want the same thing, for this to be a peaceful, no nonsense, no controversy newsletter. And that obviously is not the experience we've had for the past 2 years. And that's what I really want. And so I want you to get your money. I would even be, however we invoice it, whatever we decide is fine. But I really feel like just doing what we've done the last 2 years and continuing to do it when we've gone through all of this difficulty as a town doesn't feel like the right step for the town. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I really am on the same page with you guys. I want this great thing to keep going.
Put you in line.
But that's kind of how I feel, is that like, it's like continuing to do the same thing doesn't make sense to me. Given
This
all
is getting long,
It's
you're gonna
not
start
mine-
taking notes.
It's not my money, it's our money.
I get it,
right?
yes.
Okay, so it's not, you're not paying.
No,
me.
I mean the money that you are
Okay.
requesting.
Okay.
That's what I mean. I get it.
So I
I
have
totally
a
get
quote.
it.
Can
I have-
you
I have a
stop?
quote to answer this last question that she had, just quickly. A quote from the New Hampshire Municipal Association about warrant articles.
Okay, I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
Jim,
We mentioned the contract.
she-
Who actually
she-
wrote that contract?
she doesn't know you yet, so could you just name and,
Tamara,
Tamara doesn't know you yet, can you just name
Jim
and
Johnson.
road?
Jim Johnson, Shannon Way. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, who wrote the contract?
Karen,
So I
and she
draft,
took it off the listserv, right? Or something?
I Yes, I took a draft contract from, and I pieced it together from other towns that used the same thing. We discussed it at a public meeting. There was nothing proprietary about the contract, so
She would do that because that's her function, is to do all
Write
the,
contracts?
do all the board's work.
So the board writes contracts too? Doesn't the attorney do that?
The attorney would review them upon,
Did the attorney review this contract?
no, because it's not,
it's not in the final format.
it's not finalized. We sent it to them to let their attorney review it, and
It's a moving target.
now I'll go back to you.
Okay,
had
I'll
Ward,
do this
too.
quickly.
Yep.
So this is from the New Hampshire Municipal Association website. Quote, "Transfers cannot be made from appropriations made by separate warrant articles under RSA 3110-4. Therefore, the way to prevent an appropriation from being diverted to other purposes is to submit a petition warrant article for that appropriation."
Right,
Yes.
So that's
meaning
the
we couldn't
process
take
that we
this
just
money
went
and
through.
give it to something else.
Right.
Correct, that's my understanding,
Right, the rule of transfer applies in the
which
opposite
is not what
direction.
we're talking about.
Am I gonna hire as a camera guy, Jim?
No, I want to make sure we're not vibrating off the young lady every time she moves.
Ward, you're next, then Lois, then Eric, then,
So many.
Sure, I got you too.
I just had a question.
You're up, Ward.
Geez, you caught me off guard. Woodburn, Brown Road, Brentwood. I super appreciate Jennifer and Russ and Andy and Bob being open to negotiating and operating in good faith. And it's quite clear to me that, John, you have bitterness to this newsletter. And this is exactly the same divide that is in this town, and it needs to stop. You need to do better than this. You need to get beyond this, you need to work together with the newsletter, and let's move on. It's so clear sitting back here listening to it. It's the divide. Every other board of the members willing. You're just like, nope, 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 nope. And it's wrong. There's no compromise. This newsletter and the town and politics in this town is like a marriage. In a good marriage, or any marriage, there has to be compromise, or it doesn't work. And without compromise, this newsletter thing's not gonna work if we don't come to some common ground. And I say like, what is it, I'm bound to try and have an open mind, to listen to the other side. And everybody else on the board's willing to do that, and I feel like you're not. And it's disappointing, it really is.
Can I respond?
Sure.
Ward, I appreciate it, and I don't want to create any confusion. While I don't think that your perspective is totally off base, I agree that I do feel kind of scorned by the entirety of this situation. I do. That's the truth. If I said anything different, I wouldn't be being honest with you. But I also have to be truthful and clear with you. The very beginning of what I said was that I would like to see a contract. I haven't said I would vote against it. All I said was, I'd like to see an agreement. That's what I said in May of last year. That's what I said when I was sitting at this board when Ken was the chair, a couple weeks ago, well, in January, when we said, okay, we're gonna put the contract forward. That's why I voted in favor of the warrant article when we were sitting on this board. So Ward, your perspective on me is accurate. I do feel kind of scorned by this whole thing. Like it's not a pleasant experience. Like I have, go on Facebook and half of you people in this room like come at me on Facebook all the time. And I'm used to it, and it's fine. And I know I'm sitting up here, and I get it. That's fine. But the reality is, the true reality is, I don't want this drama anymore either. And I truly do just want to have an agreement that we can all say, okay, this is what we're agreeing on. We're gonna move forward. And then I want it to be done. I just, probably more than anyone in this room, can I finish, just please? I'm almost done. I just want to move on. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't ever want to talk about the BNL. Like, I know we're going to talk about it this week and probably next week. I don't ever want to talk about it again. I really, really don't. That's just my perspective. But I'm not going to like talk like this for everyone who addresses me, but Ward, I feel like I owed you that with what you said.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I honestly do, and owning that is great. But I just think that, you know, to heal us as a community it's vital to all work together. And it's just, it's not gonna fix itself, and you need to step back from the newsletter negotiation part of it. So be it. I mean, I think Russ has offered an olive branch, and Andy's offered an olive
Absolutely.
branch.
Here's the part where I think that both parties need to be in good faith. And you said compromise, you know, we have to work together to do this. We have to communicate to heal. I couldn't agree more. The reality is, we sent a contract out as a board, unanimously, the four of us, in January. And we didn't hear anything back until, I'm not joking, Friday evening between 5 and 6 p.m., somewhere in there, before town meeting. It's hard to have a dialogue when there's no dialogue there.
I understand.
And so that contract, that was a jumping off point. I didn't see it as Karen sitting down and like putting a whole bunch of clauses in here in order to hammer the newsletter. I saw it as, hey, this is a jumping off point, and then we did anticipate the newsletter folks to come in and discuss it with us during some of those meetings, and that didn't happen. And I don't think that after those discussions didn't happen, I don't think that we did proactively reach out. And I'm being totally just transparent with you, right? Like I'm trying to get it all out there. We sat down, had a jumping off point, decided a contract, thought they were gonna come in and talk to us about it. We didn't get a response, and then we were surprised on Friday night before town meeting. That's kind of, and then now we're here.
I'm gonna put my 3 minutes.
I'm done.
And I just food for thought then, and this is just me, when you're doing the negotiations, when I go to a mechanic, I don't tell him how to fix my car. And if I was doing this negotiations, I wouldn't try and tell a person how to do journalism or print paper. Maybe it's just ground rules. Just a thought. Thanks.
All right, so Lois, I have you next, then Bill, and then Sue.
I'll let Bill go next.
And then Eric's in there too.
Mine's extensive.
So,
Lois, you're all done?
No, I'm going to,
She's
I'm going to go
deferring to me.
before me. if that's
Okay.
all right.
I have two questions first, and then a comment. My
Oh, that's over your quota.
Listen up, they're short questions. Did the whole board put that warrant article together and agree on that unanimously 4-0? The warrant article that went to fund the Brentwood newsletter.
Yes.
And my second question is, what exactly do you think that warrant article is doing? Was it to fund the newsletter, or was it to open up negotiations?
Fund
So-
the newsletter.
I thought it was to fund the newsletter, and I think.
That was my
I thought it was pretty clear at the town meeting that the overwhelming majority of people.
So you asked me a question, can I answer it, Bill?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, my idea of the warrant article was to see whether the town wanted us to fund the newsletter. That's my idea of the warrant article.
And as a result of the vote, did the town then say to the whole board, I want you to fund the newsletter?
Yes.
Not open up negotiations, not have a memorandum?
But that wasn't part of the-
Memorandum understanding is a very good idea, but the town spoke to you, fund the newsletter. That's what the warrant article was about.
It's
My comment.
been said and addressed and,
Yeah, my comment to all of you on the board, having been there before. Sometimes, actually, most of the time, you need to give up your personal thoughts and realize that the reason you're on this board is
to take care of the town's business. Sometimes that means taking a deep swallow and saying, Jesus, I don't want to do this, but this is the right thing to do for the town. Sometimes you have to just say, I've got to put my personal feelings aside and do the right thing for the town. That's why you're on that board, that's why you got elected, that's why
Bill,
you're supposed to
Bill.
represent everyone. Sorry, I don't mean to point. That's coming. Somewhere.
I'm gonna go to Eric, then I'll go to you, Lois, because you gave up your spot.
Good luck. So Eric Turner, Peabody Drive. I'm the man sitting behind Robin that you referenced earlier. The reason I wanted to talk, I wasn't planning to, but since you brought it up, I think part of the discussion around what's been accepted and what's not been accepted in the discussions, and so this goes back quite a ways, obviously. I first came here, and let me also start off. I also agree, the newsletter is a town treasure, it needs to stay. I've been accused of wanting to kill the newsletter, I've never asked to kill the newsletter. The history of this was, something got published, and I wrote a note saying, it's false, it's got false information in it, it came from this group called the Granite Rock. I never got a response back, and I was kind of surprised. And so that started this thing. So I will take credit for being the first person to bring this newsletter before the board. Bob was, I believe, the chair, and I was told basically, the board has no authority over anything to do with the newsletter. So if there's false information in it, you know, that's not your thing. If you want to change that, bring a warrant article. That's what Bob said. So that's where the idea for a warrant, it wasn't just me, a whole group of people got together and talked about it. If you look at that warrant article, it did not try to kill the newsletter. It just suggested some changes, and some of them were adopted, I agree. Some of them that are very important, some of them were very important were not adopted, particularly the ones that would provide some openness, where the board of selectmen and maybe the public in the town can see what was contributed even if it didn't make it into print. Something that would take the level of tension down. And the reason I mention those things is because that's what started happening afterward. Things I contributed, my candidate statement, the last time I ran for this to represent this town, was cut down to one sentence from you know, something that fit, while my opponent's words ran. Other people I know have been calling me and saying, hey, you know, I tried to contribute an article. That was one of the key things. And so I agree, a contract needs to just specify, you know, page counts and distribution lists or whatever technically has to be in it. But I'd also like it to just sort of create a sense of openness. You know, not that dictates what goes in the newsletter, but that as a town publication, people have the ability to know, you know, what is or isn't, if they want to dig deeper, if they want to see whether something got changed, if they want to see if something got left out. You know, that was really the key thing that was in that provision, along with some other things that we thought were good housekeeping, like this idea of invoicing and such, which hopefully will see the light of day. You know, ultimately, I would love to see this whole team volunteering directly for the town, rather than having to deal with contracts and having to deal with you know, this sort of external corporation and its own prerogatives versus the town. And this should be a town function. We're the only town that I know of that does this. Every other town, no matter how it creates a newsletter, some of them outsource the printing and the typesetting, if you want to call it that, but no one else sort of just has this relationship where there's sort of and I don't think it needs to be this way, but where it's grown to be this sort of adversarial thing.
Well, I think
that would be a big step forward. I think it could be part of the overall communications to the people of the town. But my main thing is openness, so that it's not sort of, you know, unknown what's in there, what's not. There's no reason why the stuff that doesn't run can't be at least shared with you all.
Just a response to that, Eric, is I think we're also the only town that publishes monthly and not quarterly or biannually. So when I remember in May or whatever, when I think it was actually John Frizzell that sat down and looked at what different towns did, we were the only one to actually do a monthly and not quarterly. So yes, other towns do take it up, but they do it on a much smaller scale.
And we still don't write their articles, and they're still a private, and that was one of the reasons why we actually, they're not on our website, they have their own website. Another reason why, we took that off, but it was another reason why, you know, we basically were saying, all right, we don't control them, we don't write their stuff for them, they have their own editorial board, they have a whole staff of people, I don't know, you said what, 1,400 hours, I think that they do towards over 1,400 hours worth of volunteer hours that they use to put this thing together.
So can I just interrupt? Nothing that I said suggested anything other than that.
No, I totally agree that you're,
I think that's a good process. Other towns do it internally, but all I'm saying is openness. If the contributions to the newsletter flowed through a town email so that everyone could see what was sent in, everyone could see what made it, what didn't, what got changed, what didn't, that would go a long way.
But it wouldn't be a private organization at that point.
That would be a
What's
big
that?
liability for the town.
That would be a huge
Yeah.
liability for the town if we had them doing a town email, because then they're subject to the right to know, and they're subject to all that other stuff. There's a reason that they're their own entity, and people had a choice whether or not they actually wanted to fund having a newsletter, like what we have, or whether they wanna have a pamphlet like what they have in Fremont. They don't want the one they had in Fremont, their little pamphlet that I know was put forth as one of the brilliant ideas that came forward, and that's great. If that's what everyone wanted, awesome. But that wasn't what people wanted. They wanted to have this 45-year-old history newsletter that started out, and I believe it was with Boy Scouts, and Linda Russo back in the day, that basically started this great idea of let's share what's going on around the community and the stories about our community, and have this discussion and this, you know, a purpose of an article is to promote discussion. And whether you watch MSNBC or CNN or Fox or Newsmax or whatever, ABC or CBS, if you don't like what's watching, you turn the channel. So if you don't like what's, and there's stuff that's coming to the newsletter that I look at and I go, okay, next page. I look at it. I get the Exeter newsletter. I don't like some of the stuff in the Exeter newsletter. I move to something else. I don't follow sports. I never read the sports section. I have a neighbor, he'll knock me over to get the sports section.
John's on overtime, so.
Okay.
So last point, I totally think all those statements are fine. All I'm saying is some openness, whether it flowed through the town or whether it was asked in the newsletter to share everything that came in. Again, I don't know why my candidate statement was turned into and also ran, you know, to the one sentence also ran, you know, also running.
The chief's here waiting for us to finish
Something
this.
that created openness.
His salary, man, his
That's all
salary.
I'm saying.
Thank you,
You
Eric.
can take that.
Lois and then Sue, just so you're not caught off guard.
Okay. I'm going to, for guidance from the Supreme Court concerning the meaning of the Selectmen's authority to manage prudential affairs. The most leading case in all this is Bolton versus Beals, 98 HN 461, 1954. In that case, the Selectmen were directing certain, pardon my print is so small, were directing certain ongoing litigation for the town. The town meeting voted specifically to assign control of the litigation to a special appointed committee. The Supreme Court upheld the town's action, finding that the Selectmen were authorized to act in the absence of an action by the town meeting. But the Selectmen's Prudential Affairs Authority was superseded by a specific directive of the town meeting. The court summarized the precedent, interpreting the scope of the prudential affairs of the powers as follows. The nature of the duties encompassed in the management of, quote, the prudential affairs of the town has been considered in a number of earlier cases. The particular duties incorporated within the meaning of the phrase prudential affairs are not enumerated. Selectmen have not been regarded as general agents of the town, clothed with general powers of corporation for which they act. They can only exercise such powers and perform such duties as are properly incident to the specific and limited authority confirmed on them by their office. In H 461, the court addressed the specific issue in the case. Doubtless, in the absence of a court special action by the town, the selectmen would be under duty to protect the interests of the town, and in the event of a doubt, to seek instructions by calling a special meeting. But the town was free to place the management of litigation in the hands of the special committee or the selectmen as they saw fit, with such instructions as might choose to give with respect to council. In New England, the town voters voted, and they had the authority.
Sue?
Yes, I think we'll
Just-
all agree here that
Sue,
there,
you're-
I'm sorry, Sue Mitchell, Sherman Avenue. I think we can all agree that there are two factions in this town. And I think what bothers a lot of us from one of the factions is we're not allowed to help with the newsletter at all. Now, I brought it up about, I don't know, a month or two ago that I had volunteered like 3.5 years ago to fold the newsletter. Got a nice email back saying we'd get in touch with you. I was never asked to volunteer. And I think it was at that meeting, there was a woman here, I don't recall her name, she had blonde hair, I believe, and she said, she contacted me after the meeting and said, please could I have your name and address? We'd like to help reach out to other people to work on the newsletter, but yet I haven't heard a thing. And she said, I don't know, I feel like I asked who worked on the newsletter, and all I was told is it was Robin. Robin did everything. Well, obviously Robin doesn't do everything because there are other people that work with her and there are other people that fold. But I'd like to know who those people are.
So I did respond to you, and
When?
COVID happened, and we didn't fold anymore. But after that, you were welcome to come to any folding.
Well, I was never invited, so I didn't know where
Why
it
don't you just
was.
say when
So-
the folding is in this meeting so that everyone knows?
So we fold the last Wednesday of every month, right here in the town office. We use both rooms because we have between 15 and 25 people show up every month, the last Wednesday of every month.
Okay, besides you, does anybody else work on the publication besides me?
So if you can address to the board, we're not doing a back and forth with the newsletter.
Okay,
Um,
I would like to know.
The newsletter has an incorporation of 5 board members. They are a nonprofit, so their board of directors should be listed on the state website, as well as any income and expenses.
It is in the newsletter too.
It is, but you're also required to report to the Attorney General's office every April, right?
Only now, because they
Just
just
now.
became a
Just now, because-
501c3.
My apologies. So, that's above and beyond the scope of where we are right now, Sue, but thank you for your question, and
Well, I'm just saying, I think that's why there's a lot of dissension about it.
Nice things.
sure, one more thing, Michelle. And I would like to commend you, because like 2 years ago, your public speaking was, you hated it and have never wanted to do it, and now you're like, after chairperson of the budget committee, you're all over public speaking.
Actually, I gotta tell you, I got help from above. That's what allows me to do this. Sue, in answer to you and other people who have said they've not been on the mailing list, first of all, the people on the board of the newsletter are listed on the inside page every month. And the email address for the newsletter is listed on the bottom of every page every month, so we're not hard to get to. But the last thing I would like to say is that the selectmen are the ones that put forth that warrant article. The town voted to support it. Extend that olive branch, write the check, we'll sit down with you, Andy, we can do this again, or further. We don't ever need to do this in a public forum again. Let's be done.
I would love that. All right. I think we've talked this through, and I'll take a motion to table the discussion on the newsletter till next week, and everybody can think and digest this.
Motion.
Robin, talk to Ward and you can get my cell phone number from Ward or Michelle has it.
Okay.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Are you gonna have Russ participate in that discussion?
Robin and I will talk first and I'll call Russ and,
I'll tell you what, I'll make it easy for you, I'll withdraw that request. So, go for it. Let's move on.
motion second, all in favor of tabling this?
Aye.
Anybody
Aye.
opposed? Any other business before we go into non-public with the chief for hiring, and then we also have legal matters to discuss?
Do you have, Michelle?
I have a question.
Yes.
Has the new select board members been given the policy book and all the?
They're meeting with Karen on Thursday.
Okay, are those policies on the website for us unelected selectmen to view? So that we know what we should expect from our elected selectmen? They're not on the website, but they are available here in my office. Can you get on the website, or is that not allowed? I can email it to you. Thank you.
I'd need to that too, I'd have a copy, please.
Alright,
Sorry to make you stay so long.
Thank you for your time.
Make a motion, we go into non-public for hiring,
under 91A
under 91A,
and legal.
and legal.
What?
Is that a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to go into non-public. We're still in a meeting, so if we could be quiet as we exit the room, please. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And it actually has to be a
Roll call.
roll call vote, so Bob,
Aye.
I'm an aye.
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
I'll turn on the sound machine.
Karen's heading that way.
Somebody forgot their cup back here. Somebody forgot their travel mug.